Hello and welcome to another the Turk tutorial. Today this is part 2 of the tutorial series. Sorry for the delay. Today we're going to be talking about buildings and a quick war with our enemies in the south, Granada, who we will remove from the peninsula, the Iberian Peninsula that is. Okay, so last time I pretty much gave an overview of everything here. Today I'm going to finish up with the buildings, and then we're actually going to start the game. Let's start off with just any city. Let's pick, for example, Madrid. Here we can see buildings are split up into government, army, navy, production, trade, and fort. With the exception of fort, all of these correlate also to our technology over here. And as we remember, so government tech will give us later on churches, which we can use to build. So here we can see that for a church, I would must research government technology 4. I'm going to go through each one of these and specifically say what each one does, give you a general overview, and also what these unique buildings are down here. So in Madrid, we have a church. We don't have a church yet. As we can see, that this is the technology group on the side. So it says 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. That's the level we have of buildings type. So for example, the church buildings in general are quite expensive, but they're extremely helpful. Churches should be placed in almost all cities as they lower the stability cost. Each of these buildings, by the way, costs 1 magistrate. So a church lowers stability cost by -4. What that means is if you go to stability, as you can see, it's out of 357. It'll reduce that total amount of how much we need to get up to the next stability level. Courthouse. I'll be going pretty quickly through all these. Courthouse, again, you have to have the one before that, so I cannot build a courthouse before getting a church. So courthouse lowers your revolt risk by 1. Spy agency, stability cost reduced by 2, and you have a local spy defense of plus 50%, meaning that if anyone ever tries to send a spy to raise a revolt in Madrid or whatever, it'll be much harder for them, much more costly. Specifically, these are very important to build in your capital, because your capital is very vulnerable to spy attacks, especially if a spy wants to go and see everything that's happening in infiltrate your administration. There's always a lot more spy options inside your capital. So it's always very important to build a spy agency there. And then town hall, which gives you a local tax modifier of plus 25%. I'll get to that later. As you can see, it's increasing cost. So from 47 ducats all the way up to 141. Past that, we have this dotted red line over here. This means that these are our unique buildings, our unique choices, you could say. Once you build something along these, like you specialize in either government, army, navy, production, trade, or even fort level. So if I get a college, which increases my yearly spies, increases my yearly magistrates, and increases local spy defense, I can no longer build an arsenal, naval arsenal, mint, postal office, or a fort level 5. I'd have to, I can only go next and build a cathedral, which is extremely great. As you can see, monthly stability investment plus 10. When it says monthly stability investment, by the way, it's referring specifically to this. So it would increase that by 10. So I'd be getting stability much faster. Yeah, and local missionary chance is increased by 1%, and local spy defense again is increased. So basically, government is good if you want to maintain order, basically. increase your stability, increase spy defense, and also, generally speaking, lower revolt risk. Courthouses are really helpful, especially in recently conquered territories. Bringing them up quickly can help make sure there won't be a revolt there. Oftentimes, they can become whack-the-mole. And this little X over here just means that you stop constructing whatever you've been building. It, basically stops construction. So that's government. Armory. So armory gives you increases your manpower by 50. Decreases regiment recruitment time. So here, for example, it takes 57 days, so it would decrease that by 10%. Local regiment cost is also decreased by 5%, so that 9.1 would be decreased by 5%. And so on and so forth, really. They all do the same thing. You can read through them. There's nothing else. Regimental camp, for example, greatly increases local manpower modifier. If you remember, you can see local manpower by here. So I see 67 in Valladolid or Castilla la Vella. So that would increase by 20% right there, which would inadvertently affect your manpower up there. So that's that. So that's all this. Arsenal and conscription camp basically do the same things as the armory and training camps, but at a much higher level. Navy, obviously, navy buildings can only be built on the coast, so it's a dock. Docks, I mean, even if you're not going to be focusing on the navy, docks are really helpful because of that plus 25% local production efficiency. And also the local ship repair is also really good. But like the original dock building is really helpful to have because that local production efficiency, increasing that by 25%, so up to 31% is, sorry, up to 51%, not 31, 51% is really helpful. So always try to get docks because they can really help boost your production value, especially in well-worthed coastal provinces like Andalusia would be a good place to build a dock. Dry dock increases your naval force limits and ship construction time minus 10%. Force limits, if you remember, are down here. So right now my support limit or force limit is 22, so that would increase it to 23. Again, it's pretty much the same across the board. Naval arsenal, see, local ship cost decrease. So that's Navy. Production and trade, these are the two ones you'll probably be building the most of. Oh, well, aside from churches. Churches and constable and marketplaces are really important. But especially the constable. The constable increases direct tax by 25%. So here we can look at tax. So it'll increase that base of 11 up 25%. So basically by a lot. And if you build them across your kingdom, it can really help you rack up a lot of gold early on. So again, constables you should build everywhere. They're really helpful. But because this is a percentage, try to make it in a place that's already producing a lot of tax. And you can do that very easily by going to, well, usually there's a building here. If you go to your ledger here, you go to economics, I believe. Which page is it on? One second. Buildings. We cannot click right now. It's check plus everything. Once you can start building a building, a little red banner will pop up here, and you can then click on it, and it will take you directly to this screen where you can then check which buildings you want. But it organizes them by tax, revolt risk, culture, religion, and building type. So you can just click on the tax, and you can see which province is making the most tax, and then you could build your constable there. So constables are really great. Workshop are also good. It increases tax income by just one, so it doesn't matter where you build it. You can build it anywhere. It just increases it by one. So that's also good. Counting house, it increases local production efficiency by 25%, like the dock. It's basically like the dock, but for all your inland provinces as well as your coastal provinces. Treasury is direct tax plus 25%. Again, that increases this tax by 25%. And then aside from that, you have the mint, which is again tax, and stock exchange, which increases against tax income, again by 5%. So production is very good line of buildings you can build. Trade now. This is very unique, and you should use it in unique circumstances. So marketplace gives you a local trade income modifier of plus 10%. What that specifically means is that this local trade income is not necessarily going to you if you are not in control of your own center of trade. So currently I am, right? Because I have Andalusia, as we spoke about earlier in the past tutorial. So I can see that all my provinces trade through Andalusia, including Madrid. So if I build a marketplace here, this plus 10 local trade income modifier will help increase the trade value, which will go directly to me because it'll increase this. See the total value of trade? It'll increase, if I can see it. You'll see if I build one in Badajoz or Cordoba, it'll increase that by 25%, 10%, sorry, 10%, and I'll be making more money. So it's also good for the Moroccans or everyone that's trading through Andalusia. So that's Portugal, the Knights, and Granada. It makes sense for all of them to build the marketplace because they won't actually be making the money. You will, or whoever controls the center of trade. That's why, for example, if you're playing as Aragon, it does not make as much sense to build a marketplace, especially since they're pretty expensive at the beginning of the game. They're 47 ducats. It does not make sense for them to make it if they have no merchants in Liguria, because they will not be receiving any of that trade income. Currently in Andalusia, we have a total value of 242. When I start the game, you see I have 71% chance down here. I will get up to level 5 merchants, and I will make a greater share. And it makes sense for me to build maybe a couple marketplaces after I've built my constables as a way of promoting trade within my kingdom. And because I will be taking a greater share of that because it'll be easier for me. But I would not do the same if I was Aragon and I was having a tough time trying to trade through my center of trade point, which is for them Liguria. So that goes for all countries. Playing as Poland, for example, I would not build marketplaces because all of my trade is running through Lubeck, which they're not even part of the Hanseatic League, so they're at a special disadvantage. So that's trade. The marketplace specifically. Trade depot again just increases trade income, which is the same, and then local trade income modifier. So it's all the same throughout. I believe, however, road network, local movement speed plus 10%. This is really helpful because it'll obviously let your troops move through provinces faster. Having road network is really helpful. So, I mean, try to control your own center of trade. That's definitely a part of this game. And that really has a lot to do with, again, the supply here, of whether you're going to go mercantilist or free trade. So, again, really depends. Back to building, so let's trade. Fort level, we can see here, fort, we're now all forts, everyone starts off level 1 fort. If you remember, we have the fort level map mode. So most places start off with level 1. Some places like Sinai, Suakin, Bryansk, and Northern Europe, far Northern Europe. Oh, and half of Iceland.